Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. It's the start of another big week here in August as we've gone through earnings and we've gotten through a big chunk of earnings, but we still got plenty of big news that's been out there influencing the markets, no doubt about that. And earnings does continue to roll on. When we go back to last week, it was very, very interesting just to see the performance of the week. So you look at the Dow itself, and the Dow basically finished the week unchanged. On the other hand, you take a look over at the NASDAQ just absolutely was ripping to the upside. Really, really nice performance. Now, on Friday, a little bit of the flip. As a matter of fact, Friday itself, Dow actually finished the day up about 75 points. And meanwhile, you look over at the NASDAQ down about 60 points. But it was a very, very strong performance once again for the S&P, obviously the NASDAQ being a big influence there. And we continue to see a pretty interesting move off of some of those lows. And it looks like we're starting to listen less and less when it comes to some of those inflation numbers. And it seems like the markets are getting a little bit more comfortable with maybe not necessarily peak inflation, but they're starting to come down just a little bit. We'll see how that all plays out. You look at the price of crude, great example. It started off the week at 98. Finished the week right around 88. I look at nat gas, which we talked about for a long time, was absolutely ripping to the upside and then started this pullback. Well, it finished under 8 at the end of this past week. We look at volatility, was up in the 24 area, now in the 21s. 2155 is about where we finished the week out. The 2-year, that has been on the rise. 3.2, looking over at the 10-year, right around 2.8. That's been something that's been sort of steady and yet very, very quiet in terms of some of the moves that we've been seeing. Volumes Friday, a big day Friday, 45 million contracts trading, a very big day, a day we haven't seen in a while. We've had a couple over 40 million, but this one, 45 million, certainly very impressive in terms of what we're seeing here in August. You look at Bitcoin, we've talked about 22 to 24. Well, we finished almost smack dab in the middle. 23,200 is where we finished the week for Bitcoin. What was really powering the markets? Well, energy up about 2%. It was Exxon, it was Chevron, Apache. I look at Devon, I look at EOG. That really was the sector that was really giving the biggest leadership along with financials, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. I look over at something like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all starting to buoy up and pull the markets to the upside. Consumer discretion, a little bit of a drag. We talked about the NASDAQ being a little bit more on the negative side, at least for Friday alone. Amazon, Tesla, certainly an influence there. Throw in the communication sector as well, and you get the idea. A little bit of a pull to the NASDAQ as opposed to what we were seeing going on with the Dow itself. So what were some of the leadership runners to the upside? Well, Freeport-McMoRan definitely stood out for me. I look over at a name like Carvana, up 40%. That was a really amazing move, but not totally amazing, because of the fact that we actually identified some unusual option activity in Carvana not too many sessions ago, quite honestly. And we had that monstrous move to the upside. And that really was a huge move. When you go 40% in a single day for a mature company that's been around a while, that is something that really does stand out. Peloton, Twitter. I look at some of those beta energy names. We talked about energy being the leader. You look at Devon, you look at Diamondback, those names, all very, very powerful. Vertex, Datadog, you get the idea. There was a lot of getting pulled on the markets, though. We talked about it on Friday, but it was names like Paramount, Warner Brothers, definitely in a huge way influencing and pulling on markets pretty dramatically, actually. Then Micron, you throw in Monster Beverage, Moderna, JD, PDD. We've talked about some of these Chinese names for a while. They had been going back and forth, up and down, a lot more down of late and pulling to the downside when you look at some of those big ETFs. Also, Disney, I look at a Boeing. Boeing was interesting as well. As we get into today, as we get through the weekend, a nice start to the week right out of the gate early on. We were looking at the Dow up about 160 points, the NASDAQ up about 100 points. We've not only held on to those gains, but we've been building on some of those gains all the way up into this first hour, finishing at the first hour right about 250 points or so for the Dow, moving to the upside. So added about almost 100 points. And then you look at the NASDAQ, a nice move as well, up about 100 points, up about 140, 150 points in the first hour. A lot of folks interested in what's coming on for the rest of the week. Some more data is going to be released out there. That's certainly a focus. What else is pretty interesting on the day, quite honestly, was the Senate actually passing. Well, they got the vice president to jump in there as well. But we've got that climate, the healthcare package, $430 billion bill coming at you once again. You've got China and Taiwan. That's starting to heat up a little bit, and something we should not take our eyes off of, because that certainly is something that is simmering. But will it get much bigger than a simmer? Sure feels like it might. We got Wednesday, that CPI report. We've got Bed Bath & Beyond on a huge short squeeze today as well. Kind of looks a little bit like what we were seeing out of Carvana, where it's an unbelievably large move. But those things do happen when you have those large short interests and all of a sudden that squeeze play comes in. That certainly can happen very, very rapidly. The VIX still holding in those 21s. I look at Bitcoin up there at that upper end of the range, a little bit over 24,000. It's up about 4% on the day. Nat gas, well, that's down about 5%, slipping a little bit more towards those mid sevens, like a 750, 760 sort of a range. 2-year, 10-year, they're almost unchanged. Not really worth spending too much time there. In terms of the markets and the sectors that are giving us the leadership, it is materials. They're holding on. Consumer discretion, not just holding on, continues to build upon as well, along with the communication sector as well. When I look at Snap and Meta and Twitter, all of those names moving to the upside. You look over at the consumer discretion names, that's moving up. It's actually built up now, almost up 2% last I looked. The rest of the market just kind of hanging in there, up or down about 0.5%. But those are really the highlights that we were seeing so far. Freeport Mac, Mosaic, those strong. GE, I look at Tesla, Okta. I also look at something like a Zscaler, all moving to the upside. I look at Dow. I look at the Boeing move. That's been back and forth, back and forth. I just mentioned on Friday, pulling a little bit to the downside. Here you got Boeing on the positive side. NVIDIA, that really does stand out for the day. That is a big headline. That one definitely looking in a big way, getting hit, but getting off of those lows fairly rapidly. Pulling with it, Micron, AMD, Marvell, you get the idea. Also throw in little Moderna. And as I said, those Chinese names just continue to start to see more and more on the pressure side of things. JD, PDD, those kind of names pulling down once again. So we've got two unusuals, and then it will be over for the take for today. But don't forget, this is a day for the Rebel's Edge. 1 p.m. Eastern, John and I, we're going to get together. We're going to have 4 major topics, 2 unusual option activities, 1 apiece. And we'll be kicking around a little bit about what we think about the greatest, latest sports news that we're seeing out there as well. Should be a lot of fun. We do it at a great pace. Hope you're able to get there at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Rebel's Edge through YouTube, Market Rebellion, go to Rebel's Edge, and then you're there. Okay, so we've got this one, Robinhood. Now, this is another one of those names, absolutely been beaten, obviously. A lot of people know all about that, but there's also some shorts. There can be some squeezes. I'm looking at that holding right around just underneath 11, call it 1070, 1080. 13,000 of Friday's expiring 11 calls getting bought. Fairly inexpensive, 20 cents up to about 38 cents. 13,000 of those. Pretty decent size trade. You want a big trade? You want a name that hits every single day. How about ChargePoint? This one is really interesting. We've been talking about this for quite a while. The unbelievable, unusual options that just continues day after day after day. Well, they're back once again. 51,000 of Friday's expiring 17.5 calls getting bought for about 55 cents. Stock at 17.15. Doesn't have to make too big of a move. It's already made a nice move. It had been in a range, call it $12 to 15.5. Broke through that 15.5. Here we are up at 17.15. That's really interesting to see that much paper again. We continue to see the options on literally a daily basis, massive buying, always looking to the upside, and for the most part, been right. Actually, even on some of those moves, after they've made dramatic moves to the upside, we've actually had some put activity that kicked in and was right as well. So it's all a matter of discipline and understanding that what the time frame is and what they're looking for in terms of a move. This time frame is Friday. They're looking for a move through 17.5. We'll see if that happens. Folks, have a great day of trading. We will be back with Rebel's Edge, 1 p.m. Eastern. Look forward to seeing you then. John, of course, later on has the 3 at 3. That's an everyday thing. Rebel's Edge, that's Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. John and myself getting together, having a lot of fun, hoping you're liking it. And when you watch it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, whatever you want. If you're on YouTube, we really do appreciate you watching. Have a great day of trading.